you look at what is unfolding in our nation's capital, the infrastructure bill could be a measure that divides the Democratic Party. Now, the president has been working with a handful, about 6 moderate Republicans, to try to pull together a compromise, bipartisan bill. But progressive members of the president's party are not happy with the scaled back version that is dropping out some of their pet projects. Joining me now to talk more about this is Senator Roger Wicker of Mississippi. Senator, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Tony. And let me just say thank you for being that alternative to the mainstream media. Glad to be part of your show today.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, Senator, and thanks for coming on. The problem in the original proposal, the president wanted to, and the party wanted to tie the president's family plan, which they called human infrastructure, with the passage of this infrastructure bill. That's a non-starter with Republicans, is it not?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think we're long past due for a major effort for roads and bridges and ports and rail. And add to that the new issue of our time in terms of infrastructure, that being broadband, to move that out to rural communities and the heartland of America. That's infrastructure in the minds of 99% of Americans. And I think that's where the president can get a deal if he's willing to exercise some leadership.
I mean, that's a pretty generous deal when you're looking at $1 trillion infrastructure plan. Of course, that's on top of the normal budget. Again, I think that's generous. Why would he walk away from that?
Absolutely. And it is a tremendous amount of money. But bear in mind this, the pay for actually repurposes a lot of COVID money from those 5 bills that were passed on an almost unanimous basis in 2020. And then, of course, we'd like to repurpose some of that rescue bill that was unnecessarily passed in March. But there's money that cannot be used for COVID-related purposes, that at least until 2022 or 2023. So the compromise is repurpose some of that money and also take these funds that were sent to the states that are prohibited to be used as a match, as a state match for infrastructure, and allow states to use that. And so a lot of the cost of, as a matter of fact, most of the cost of this bipartisan agreement agreed to by 10 Republicans and 10 Democrats and the President of the United States actually takes money that's already been spent and repurposes it for another purpose, which is, I think, a reason you'll get a lot of Republican votes if it ever comes to the floor.
Of course, the progressives trying to tie in parental leave as infrastructure, childcare as infrastructure, caregiving as infrastructure. I mean, apparently the definition of infrastructure somehow changed since I was in school and read the dictionary. Here's a clip from Sunday where Alexandria Cortez was on with Chuck Todd talking about the progressives' position on infrastructure. Clip number 1, please.
We really need to understand that this is our one big shot, not just in terms of family, childcare, Medicare, but on climate change.
One big shot. And of course, they're rolling in climate change. They see this as an opportunity, as I think Democrats did back in 2010 with Obamacare, to fundamentally change government.
There's no question about it. And to the tune of $4 trillion plus on top of everything that we had to spend when the economy was in a tailspin last year. And I don't think there are the votes in either the House of Representatives or the U.S. Senate to do that, which is, I think, why people like John Tester, Joe Manchin, and senators like that have joined together on a bipartisan basis. But, you know, Nancy Pelosi only has a 4 or 5 vote margin of Democrats to Republicans in the House of Representatives. She was shocked at the election last November. And so she has to actually try to satisfy, and you call them progressives. That's a term I'm not willing to use. It's the far left wing of a very liberal Democratic Party. And that may be the factor that actually makes this plan fail. I hope the president and the speaker will exercise some leadership and get them to agree on something that most Americans can support.
Fair enough. You are correct. I was being nice. It is the far left part of the party, but they are increasingly becoming unsettled with Joe Biden. I mean, I think Joe Biden is liberal. When you look at the policies that he's pushed in the first 5 months, they want more. Could this be the fissure in the Democratic fault line that could cause their majority to kind of begin to crumble?
Well, it hasn't been funny. It would be funny if it weren't so risky. But the president seemed to be of two minds on this proposal right from the get-go. I mean, he endorsed it, walked out in front to the microphones with 10 Democrats and 10 Republicans. And then less than an hour later, by my calculations, he was saying, I'm not going to sign such a bill unless we have this massive, huge reconciliation bill on my desk at the same time. So it would help if the president would decide what he's for and what he's against. And now, to our surprise, AOC and her far left colleagues of the squad come out and say that they're not going to vote. They're not going to vote to send a package to the Senate unless they have an assurance that this bigger $4 trillion package can pass. They will not have the votes to do that. And so I don't know where that leaves us, but we've got to first have, according to the House and Senate rules, the House has to send us a revenue package that we can add this compromise onto. We can't get a Senate bill signed because of the rules. A little bit of inside baseball there.
Right.
If the House refuses to send us a legislative vehicle, then they can prevent this worthwhile exercise in bipartisanship from happening.
Very quickly, Senator, and I want to thank you for joining us. We're almost out of time, but the $4 trillion that they want in the quote unquote human infrastructure, is there still the possibility they're going to do that through reconciliation?
I don't think they have the votes to do it. And I tell you what, there's been some debate about whether Republicans should even be negotiating with Democrats until we have an assurance that they won't do this. I think if they had the votes to do it in the House and Senate, they would already have done it. The only reason the president and Democrats are negotiating with Republicans is because they don't have the votes for this massive left-wing program. I think it can still be done, but I do not think the massive tax increase, whittling away of that great 2017 tax cut. Such great
Senator Wicker, we're out of time, up against break. I want to thank you for joining us. I agree with you, by the way. I don't think we should be negotiating without the assurances that they're not going to do that through the back door in reconciliation. Thanks again for joining us. As always, great to talk with you, and thanks for your leadership on Capitol Hill.
Thank you.